Hey, my name's Seth, and I create a newsletter with Curated. So I thought I would take just a second to show you how I create my newsletter with the Curated tool and how it really helps my workflow. So this is my newsletter, Load Save. Load Save is a weekly newsletter that focuses on the video game industry and community and development, and really focuses on deep discussions in those areas. So as you can see, this is my homepage. It has a description about Load Save. You can sign up with your email, and it shows my latest issue. So let's talk about how I save an article to each issue of Load Save. Curated users love that they can collect links between issues in 3 easy ways. Then, when it's time to send, your curated content is waiting to be used. The first way you can collect a link is by using the Curated Chrome extension. When you go to save a link, it will automatically save the title and the URL for you. Then you can put some body text in, you can choose your category, and you can drop an image in. I'll go ahead and drop some text in the body here. I'll assign a category for development, and I will choose an image to be associated with this. And now it's all good, so we just click save. The second way you can collect links is inside the curated software itself. By going to the new link button here, you have a similar dialog pop up, and you just copy and paste the URL yourself and whatever title that goes along with that. And it's just as easy to fill out the remaining part of this dialog box, and with that we'll just click save. The third way to collect links for Curated is by emailing it to yourself. So the way you do that is you copy the link to the article, you go to your email provider, you paste the URL in there, and then you send it to a email address that's set up specifically with your Curated account. So I'll go ahead and type in load save because I have it saved in my contacts as so. And you can see there that there is an individual email address that goes straight to your Curated account. You can also put this link in a category through the email as well. All you have to do is enter the category tag that is associated with the category that's part of your newsletter. And we'll jump into setting up category tags a little bit later. Now we hit send, and that'll end up in our Curated account. Now we can see the articles that we've collected outside of Curated in the import sidebar here. So we'll go ahead and import all, and then we'll see what that looks like in the preview issue. We can preview our issue by clicking preview issue here and choosing whether we want to send a preview email to ourselves or check out the web preview. Let's look at the web preview for now. And this is what it will look like when someone visits your web page once this newsletter goes live. And when you scroll down, this is what it will look like in the email as well that's sent out to your subscribers. So as you can see, here are the articles that we've saved, previewed, and if we wanted to launch this issue now, then it would look exactly like this. Now that you've seen how Curated can support your workflow, let's look at how you can customize your account settings before building and sending your first issue. This video is broken into parts. You can follow along at your own pace, or jump to the sections you'd like to tackle first. And if you have any questions, there's a good chance it's in our help documentation. You can also contact support if you get stuck. Now, let's get started.
Now let's walk through setting up a curated publication for the first time. So the first thing you'll notice is that no credit card's required until you actually hit send on that first issue. So that means you can spend as long as you want, making your publication look the way you want it to, before you even have to pay send. So getting started, it'll ask for our publication name and publication domain. If you don't know what your name is yet, that's fine, we can set that up later. But right now, let's go ahead and name ours Curated News. And we'll go ahead and enter that in our publication domain as well. And we enter our name, email, password, and time zone. Time zone will come into play a little bit later when we're scheduling what time we want our newsletter to be sent. So it's that easy, and then we just create our publication. So this checklist is the first thing you'll see right when you enter your Curated account. So the first thing it wants us to do is visit the Curated News sign-up page and share it. So let's give a look at what that is. So this is the standard setup for our Curated News sign-up page. Now we haven't done anything to customize it, so let's go back to the settings and look at see what we can do. Back on our my.curated.co homepage, we can go to the settings icon up here and click on settings. Now in our settings, we can see that we have a lot to work with for the publication. Let's get started with the name and description. So as we can see, the name that we chose earlier is already in the name box, so we should be good with that. But if at any point in the future you want to change your name, you can just come in here, edit that really quick. This is the standard description that comes with every curated newsletter, so let's change it up a bit to differentiate ourselves. So now that we've changed that, we can hit save. And we can go back to our curated news sign-up page, refresh, and see that there's a whole new blurb about what curated news is about.
Let's continue to build the Curated News newsletter. So, as always, we can reach the settings from this icon up here, and let's explore the logo in Favicon. So I've done some research and I found some images I really like for the Curated News logo. So all we have to do is drag an image here or choose one from our computer. So I'll choose this. With the logo width, you can decide how big, small you want it to be on your curated sign-up page. But if you don't have any preferences, if you just leave it blank, then it will automatically match the image that you upload. So let's upload a Favicon 2. This one here. The social share image is an image that will be shared whenever you share your newsletter on a social media platform. So for that, let's just use our logo once again. And now that these are saved, we can check out how it looks on our publication site. So you can always reach that by going to the gear icon up here and clicking Visit Publication Site. So now we can see that the image we inserted as our logo is right front and center up here. Here's our description, here's our sign up button, and then our Favicon shows up right here. As we continue building our curated newsletter, let's look at the header and footer. So the header and footer is how we control what the background color, the background image, and the text color of our publication website. So as you can see, I've chosen a dark green color that I think looks really good with that image that we put up in the last video. For the background image, I found something that I think would look really good as the background that's news related. So let's go ahead and open that. And let's go ahead and keep the text color white. I think that'll pop the best. For including issue title and issue date, that's going to be more relevant once we start sending our newsletters. And for the footer, you can also apply additional footer text. The standard footer text is a link back to Curated, but you can include things like links to your blog, links to your other websites, anything like that. So now that we've done this, let's save. Let's also darken the background image so that our words and images will pop. There's also a help article on the help section of the Curated website that goes into a little bit more detail about all these things, and I will link that in the description below. So now that we've done that, let's save. Publication successfully updated. Now let's go check it out. And now as you can see, the background here is this really nice image that isn't drowning out anything else, and you can still see everything else here. And the subscribe button matches the background image color that we set earlier. This sign-up page only appears as a full page right now because we don't have any issues currently created. Once we have an issue published, this will just be the header of our curated publication website. So as you can see, we can scroll down and we'll be able to see our newsletter right here. And we'll get into setting up our first issue in just a bit. Now that we've created a good-looking publication page, let's start setting up what our actual newsletter will look like. So let's start in the category section. So Curated comes prepackaged with a news category, but since we're called Curated News, let's do some categories that are a little bit more specific. So we'll just click New Category, and let's have a category named Intro. Now this will be the category to where we'll say, hi to all the new subscribers, hi to returning subscribers, just a little intro to the issue. Let's make another category called Election. We'll be talking a little bit about election news in this newsletter. And another category, let's call that Science. And finally, one more category that we'll call Electronics. The tag for each category relates to when you're collecting articles for your newsletter. One of the ways you can collect articles for your newsletter is by emailing it to a specific email address that is set up for your newsletter. When you do that, you include the URL of the article that you want to include in your newsletter, and you include the tag related to each specific category. And when Curated collects it, it will automatically put it in that category. Now that we have our own categories in place, we'll just archive this news one since we most likely won't be using it. So now that we have these, we can edit the name, or we can mess with the look and feel of it. So let's look at what that looks like. For each category, you can customize the look and feel. So that means customizing the header style, customizing the icon that might show up next to the header, icon width, the title color. You really have the option to make it look any way that you want. So let's experiment with some different header styles. Let's see what the default icon and title horizontal looks like. I've set this up so we can see what those categories look like, but I'll return to the steps of how to set up your first draft issue in a few moments. So as we can see, this is the image background that we put on the header a few steps ago. And this is the curated news description. And as we scroll down, we can see this is what our newsletter will look like when we send it out to our subscribers. So this is what the headers look like. And this is what the titles of the articles themselves look like. But let's play around and see what some other headers look like. I'm back in the categories section of the settings menu, and I wanted to make our categories look a little bit more fun. So under the look and feel, I changed the header style from the default icon and title that we saw earlier to lozenge only. I made the lozenge color something that will pop, as well as the text color. And let's change the link color to that bright red as well. We'll keep the background color the same because we don't want the colors to overwhelm anybody. And we'll save that. And I'll do the same with the following categories. And let's see what it looks like. Now we go back to our issue, preview, web preview, and let's see what those colors look like now. So as you can see, the intro and election categories have the login header style along with those colors. And science and electronics have just the title only header style, but those colors are matching as well. And there's a lot of customization you can do with this. You can have the text just be one color and then the link be another color, or you can have the background be a whole different color. It's whatever you want. Now that we know what those categories look like, let's return to how to set up our first draft issue. So we do this by going to the Issues dropdown, clicking All Draft Issues. And so far we have 0 draft issues because we haven't started making a draft. So we click New Issue. Then we click on Issue 1 here. As you can see, I've already gathered some articles for this issue. And when I save them, they end up in this sidebar here, where I can decide if I want to import them all or import them individually. I'll go ahead and click Import All. So this is the issue title. The default is issue number, whatever issue you're on, but that can be changed in the settings. And you can also edit. You can change the issue title, you can change issue summary, and it'll tell you what day it's due on as well. Here is where you can add a new link or a new text item inside the issue draft. So for a new link, if you click that, it'll pull open this box where you can enter the title of the article that you're wanting to save, as well as the URL. You can also enter the body text, which can be your own thoughts or comments, or anything that you want to include there. You can include which category you want, which we'll set up in another video. And you can also say who it's been curated by. Say if you have another person on your team that's also working on the newsletter with you. And you can also add an image here, which is easy as choosing an image from your computer or just dragging and dropping there. You can also add a new text item, like I did here with the intro. So adding a new text item, very similar to adding an article link, but just with no link. So you enter your title and your body text, and then whatever footer you would like to have. That could be the name of your newsletter, that could be the name of the curator, whichever you want. I've already saved some articles here, but when you're collecting articles, you can save them using the Google Chrome extension, and they will pop up here. Now, once you've done that, you can go preview or schedule the issue. When you preview the issue, you have the option to preview it on the web or preview through email. And when you're scheduling the issue, you simply click Schedule Issue, and you schedule for whatever day you would like and whatever time you would like. So I'll take this article, I'll hit the edit button, and let's drop it in a category. We'll drop this into election. I went ahead and put some other articles in the different categories that we created, as you can see here, and filled it with some placeholder text. Let's add some images to really fill out our newsletter. So I went through these articles and added images associated with them by going to the edit button and then dragging and dropping an image into the space that was here. You can also control the aspect ratio of the images that you import. You can choose from 29, square, or original aspect ratio. So we'll save that and we'll preview this issue. As you can see, they're automatically placed on top of the article here, spaced out very nicely, and fills out according to that image aspect ratio that we said earlier. You can also rearrange the categories if, say, you'd want electronics to appear above science. And just like that, when we go to our draft issue, you can scroll down and see that electronics now appears above science. And if we had multiple articles inside one category, we would just use that reorder tool to reorder those as well. Back in the settings, let's look at the look and feel of issue content. So the look and feel is how to configure the colors, styles, and text justification for everything in one issue. So while categories is specific to each and every category, if you want your issue to look more streamlined, you can settle that here. So for header style, let's say we wanted every category to be lozenge only. We wanted the header justification to be centered. And we want the item justification to be centered as well. And including a permalink below each item means that there's a link that can be easily shared under each item that you save to your newsletter. So let's check that and let's see what that looks like. To see what that looks like, we click on Issues, go to issue number 1, click on Preview Issue, Web Preview, scroll down, and see that every category looks the same because we set it in the look and feel section. So every category is centered with the headline and text centered. Every category has that permalink I was talking about. So that's an easy link that can be copied by your reader and sent to friends. And every header has the login category. For another example, this is with the title only header style, and everything is justified to the left. And I also changed the colors, which can be easily done in that section that I was just showing you. So as you can tell, there's a lot of customization options and it's really easy to do. Back in the settings section, let's look at the fonts that we can use on our publication. So the default is Lotto and Merriweather, and we can see here that this is what that looks like. So Lotto would be the headers, and then the Merriweather is the secondary text that shows up as the body text. But let's play around and see what else we can find. So we want to do Tahoma and Robotis Lab. So we save that, and that would look like this up here. So Tahoma being the header and Robotis Lab being the secondary text there. It's as easy as changing it here, saving, and then previewing issue. It's worthwhile to search through these fonts and find the one that best represents your brand. Let's take a look at the date format settings for our newsletter. This is a simple question of how you want your date to be viewed on each issue of your newsletter. So you can either choose month, day, year, or day, month, year. And I'll show you an example of what each looks like. This is the month, day, year. So you see the title of your newsletter that shows up on your homepage, or this is what will show up at the top of the newsletter when it lands in your subscriber's mailbox. And this is day, month, year. Now let's take a look at the issue title format under the publication settings. So by default, the template title will be issue and then issue number. And this comes into play when you go create a new issue. However, let's say we want the issue to be the same title every time. Let's say we want it to be Curated News. Once we save that, we go to All Draft Issues under the Issues dropdown and click New Issue. Now when we do that, the issue title will automatically be filled in with Curated News. Now let's take a look at scheduling under the publication settings. This lets you determine how often you would like to publish. So it can be every number of days or a certain time of the month, as well as what time you would like to send and what time zone you'd like to operate in. This affects when you're scheduling your issue. So if we go to our issue draft and click on the schedule issue button here, then it will suggest when it's scheduled for based off those settings that we just looked at. However, if there's a special situation where you need to push it a day forward or a day back, you can easily switch that here. Let's look at the postal address section of the publication settings. Now, every newsletter needs a postal address. So once you enter this, once you save this, it will appear at the bottom of each issue. Let's look at the subscription form settings. The first thing you'll see is permissions. So as a newsletter creator, you can offer additional opt-in permissions for your subscribers. You can also change the description that is shown underneath the subscribe button on your publication page. This is the standard, but let's add a little something to it. Finally, you can change the subscribe button text as well as the subscribe button color. Let's add a little something. And we can save here. And let's go see how that looks now. You can see that what we added to our subscribe description is seen here. And our subscribe button has that word that we added previously. Let's continue setting up our newsletter by looking at the web section of the settings. Now, under the web section, we can see that we have some checkboxes here to make our newsletter look just how we want it to. So we have an option to include the latest issue on the site homepage, show the latest issue menu option, show search option, show an archives option, and show a sponsorship menu option. So to give you an idea of what this looks like for a pretty established newsletter, let's look at one called iOS Dev Weekly that's operating off of Curated. So as you can see up in the menu up here, he has each of those options checked. So here's the latest issue, which can also be found by scrolling down. And it's seen right here. And as you can see, he has that option checked to have each latest issue shown on the homepage. This is just the iOS Dev Curated Newsletter homepage. He has the archives set up as well. So if you click on that, then it shows a nice listing of each newsletter he's ever sent, including the issue number, the title of it, and the date it was sent. The sponsorship section is a really unique feature of Curated. Under sponsorship, you can include a short description about what your newsletter talks about, how many subscribers it has, and what kind of sponsorships you normally carry out. So as iOS Dev Weekly is done, he set this up with just a few paragraphs of why someone should be interested in booking a sponsorship with this newsletter, as well as a button for book a sponsorship, looking at the calendar, and details, which is all found on this page. And these are just quick links to scroll down to whichever one you would like to see. So it's also got a handy date for when the next available date for sponsorship is ready, a nice button for booking now, as well as the price associated with it, and a calendar that comes built in with Curated that shows each day, each week that's available for sponsorship. And of course, this is dependent upon what kind of newsletter you send, whether it be monthly, a few times a week, whatever you set up. If you scroll down a little bit further, you can see that he has even more information on why someone should sponsor his newsletter. And then even at the bottom here, he has some previous sponsors just to further sell the sponsorship page. Back on the web settings section of Curated, we can see some more options. So for a custom HTML title, that comes just as Curated News, but this will be what pops up when users see your newsletter possibly in a search engine. So you can configure that to whatever you want it to read. For domains, the public domain is automatically assigned when you create the name of your publication, but you can change that as long as it's before you send out the first issue. If for some reason you change the name of your publication after a few weeks of sending a newsletter and you would like to change your publication domain, just contact the support for Curated and they'll walk you through how to do that. For the custom domain, this is for if you already own a domain and you would like to link your curated newsletter to that. So normally, as you've seen before, your newsletter is hosted at newslettername.curated.co. But if you owned another domain, then you can just set it up by entering it in this box and then clicking more information to get that set up. And the same goes for custom domain for short links. Normally, the short link that would pop up when you share a link is cur.at. But if you would like that short link to be related to your custom domain, you just enter the custom public domain here and click more information to get that set up. Again, for an example, is iOS Dev Weekly. As you can see, iOS Dev Weekly has their custom public domain as iosdevweekly.com. There's no .curated.co. This is completely their public domain, and they set it up through these web settings. Now, let's configure our subscription messages. The first thing you'll see is the welcome message text box, which lets you customize the text that is sent with your welcoming email when new subscribers subscribe to your newsletter. As you can see, this is for my personal newsletter, and I've already entered some custom text here. The hide default messages checkbox lets you decide if you want to keep the default message that appears with your newsletter or to hide it. Now, the default message is just 1 or 2 sentences, but if you feel that it doesn't go well with your brand or doesn't go well with the custom text that you entered, you can easily checkbox it off. We'll keep it unchecked for right now, and we can preview the welcome message here by entering your email and sending an email preview. Now, this is the test email that we sent for our subscription message. As you can see, the subject is labeled test to let you know that this was the test email that you sent. Here's the header from our newsletter. Now, this will be the header that you choose to have on your publication website. And as you scroll down, here's the custom text that we had entered right here. And right here is the default text that you can choose to have on or off. Scrolling down a bit, you can edit your custom thank you pages. Now, if you have a specific URL for a thank you page that you want to send your new subscribers to, you can easily set that up with your curated newsletter. The first option is for a subscription pending page, which is only applicable to those newsletters that have double opt-in enabled for their newsletter. The second option is the subscription confirmed page, which new subscribers will be sent to as soon as they hit the subscribe button. You can also customize your reconfirmation message. You can customize the message title, the content, the button text, and the conclusion. The reconfirmation message is great to send to make sure you have a high quality email list. That's the basics for getting your newsletter set up with Curated. Thank you for taking the time for watching this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can always contact support from the help dropdown or view our help articles from here. The great thing about Curated is that our help desk will be available to help you regardless of what tier you're on. So if it's your first newsletter or if you're just building your first newsletter and you have questions, Curated Help Desk can help you out. Thanks again for watching.